And open up our October 6, 2015 work session. Welcome everybody, and if you'll please silence or shut off your cell phones and join us in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have no changes.
I would like to add a discussion point on litigation against Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, and what the county can do.
Okay, is that for today, or did you want to wait until legal counsel was here tomorrow?
Well, legal counsel, we're engaged in tomorrow, so we
Okay.
can wait till tomorrow.
You want to wait till tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd seen an email, so I was aware, so thank
Okay.
you for that. We'll have that tomorrow. At this time, 9 o'clock, we have a timed item. I will open up a public hearing for the Park and Rec Master Plan at this time. Ann, are you going to be basically giving an overview?
Darwin's supposed to, because this portion of it is actually changing his comprehensive land use plan to incorporate.
Okay, well,
The reference.
we'll go get Darwin then.
Yeah, and then Rory Isbell from the U of O Service Center that worked on the plan was gonna be available for questions on the phone, so I thought,
Was he, and I thought there was supposed to be somebody, was he
Yeah.
going to call in, or were we going to call him?
was Rory gonna call in?
I never talked to anybody, I just sent the information, so.
He said he was, but.
Yeah, I thought he was too, so
Well,
he'll
let's
call
set-
on.
Let's set up the phone and see if we can't get that communication going. So Darwin, I actually have
Okay,
opened up the
perfect.
hearing at this time. Let's see if we can get, how was the guy's name again? I'm sorry.
Rory Isbell. So R-O-R-Y.
Do we have a number to call him, possibly? Darwin, do you have, there might be on some of the paperwork.
Probably
here.
do, but it's probably in an email.
Yeah, I don't.
Yes.
I have a number, I don't know if it's current or not.
For Rory?
So Darwin, I need to
Yeah.
clarify, for
Sure.
the public hearing part of this that I opened, is this public hearing is for the comprehensive plan amendment, text amendment application file number 15-030-CPA-TA?
Yep,
So that's what the public hearing
yep,
part is
that's
about.
what this is about.
Okay. So we'll try to get Lori on the phone,
Let me try this number and see if he answers.
and then he can just phone in 7011.
Like I say, this may be a whole unit. Hello, Rory, this is Lake County. Hello? This is Rory, right? This is Lake County Commissioner Ken Kestner. We're gonna go over the Parks and Rec discussion here at the courthouse. Would you be able to phone in?
Here. Just turn it off for you?
Okay, hold on just a minute. I'll hand you off to Denise and she can get you connected.
We'll just give him.
Somebody give him a copy. And
Actual number?
Hi there.
got Rory on.
Let me just give you the single call-in number. It's 541-947-7011. Okay? Well, oh, perfect. Thanks.
Love your smartphones, except I was about to toss it in the trash last week.
I think I got an email or a text to that thought. You said you was having problems with one.
Yeah, the battery just will not stay.
Some kind of other things.
On,
Then I'll stop.
So this is set up for a hearing today and a hearing tomorrow. And hearing tomorrow, Rory Rory need to call in for that one also.
Rory?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, okay, we are in session and public hearing has been opened.
Welcome, Rory. This is Brad Winters. I'm the chair this year. Myself, Commissioner, and Ken Kestner's here. And so Darwin is going to give us an overview, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, I'm hoping to.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. I've got a PowerPoint that we could go over, which really goes down really the purpose of why we're here today, to amend the comprehensive plan to include a reference to really this main document, which is the Park and Rec Master Plan. And actually, if you don't mind, Ann, do you want to give a quick rundown of the grant process and how we got to this point?
Yeah, so last fall we applied for the Oregon Park and Rec Department planning grant and were awarded that. The U of O Community Service Center has done Park and Rec master plans in other cities and counties, and they were willing to take us on as a project. So it allows graduate students to do research in the planning process and the public involvement, and kind of help facilitate the whole process till you get to a finalized document. So right now, we have done the inventory, the research, the public household surveys, the stakeholder meetings, the community meetings, to get all the information compiled into this document. So you guys have seen the draft document and kind of that process as we've moved through it. And the next steps are incorporating the language in the comprehensive land use plan, and then also just adopting the plan as a standalone document too.
Also, Darwin, our current comprehensive land use plan makes reference to the county developing a park. So this is that step of development.
So our comprehensive plan, and you guys have got the recommendation from the planning commission in front of you. The comprehensive plan has a section in it referred to as recreation needs, which is coincides well with the state park and rec plan, which is to make provisions to satisfy the recreational needs of the county, state, and visitors, is what our language says. Similar language is found in OER for the park, for the statewide planning goals. And we have a recommendation in the plan which was to create a park and rec plan. And this, really this process, kind of has satisfied that recommendation, at least in the recommendation of the planning commission it has, and my recommendation. And now we need to include it in the plan, and rather than include the whole document and add it at the end as maybe an appendix, at least we put it in there by reference. And as it's a living document, we'll update it as we go. It makes most sense to just put a one-liner under the plan policies. And that language that we've got proposed is found in here, that Lake County Park and Rec Master Plan will be utilized as a guideline for parks planning implementation. That's a simple statement that goes with a pretty complex document that really, I think, covers all of our basis in our planning efforts for parks and recreation in the county.
Now, when we say all the parks and recreation in the county, the outer perimeter is the county line.
Sure.
But we're addressing county lands and facilities. It doesn't address state parks and rec or field land management or Forest Service. But the ultimate goal, at least I think all of this, is that once we get a GIS or we can actually mend the other opportunities, like Fort Rock State Park and field land management, so that visitor can see the full picture of the opportunities. We are just addressing what the county has at this time.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Right, so through this planning process, some of the priorities that came out of it were establishing an interagency work group that would include federal and state representation. so far, discussions with the federal agencies are they have a lot of those mapping tools already available to us, and it can be a really simple process to create a map that shows all the agencies kind of together on one document, so,
Every place except my favorite fishing hole. Right?
yes.
So we could utilize the agency's GIS
Yes,
to amend our plan with theirs and theirs with ours.
yes.
Okay.
Specifically, page 4, right after page 4 is a good map of the county and some of these locations. And again, yes, we're talking about the ones that the county has jurisdiction over that we would look to, you know, put some resources to update or provide more amenities while we're at these locations. And again, Ann touched on
I'm not sure that we have your page 4, at least.
the
when I
plan
went
at
through it.
least, it's in.
Through it earlier. It's
No, that's a couple
in the plan.
extra.
There's several documents in here.
And the largest document would be the actual parking lot plan, 30 page.
That's on the back
Yeah,
of our.
there you go. There you go.
Oh, this one here?
Yep, yep. Any other questions for me right now? The process for amending the plan is to send DLCD a notice 35 days in advance of the first evidentiary hearing, which we did for the planning commission, and they held that meeting. It's September 15th, I still got the date of that meeting. Went over it, it was really the only thing on the agenda that night, so it was well discussed, and certainly there were, you know, some of those same comments about, you know, the plan not including some of the federal agencies and, you know, locations for parks, and, you know, we will get there. That's the nice part, is that as we continue to, you know, collaborate with those of the other agencies, we'll be able to really show the public that we have a plan, and that we have, you know, locations around the county that they can get to pretty easily, that have great access, and I think the biggest part for me on this is that, you know, we actually are finally gonna have a plan that we can turn to. You know, this plan can change, and it will change as we get projects done, but as you know, if there's something we've missed, we can add it to the plan. It won't require a planning process, a land use planning process, but we would certainly get, you know, the task team together and any stakeholders and have those meetings, and we'd be able to come to, you know, consensus on the new, you know, priorities or how we're going to amend the plan.
Excuse me, hearing processes for the public to be able to weigh in on the hearing side of it, so I do have a couple of questions after, well, I'll wait until after the public, when we close the hearing for today, and bring that forward, but is there anybody here from the public who'd like to make a comment or anything about the plan?
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm good.
There being no public comment, we'll go ahead and close the hearing for today. At this point, conversation a little bit amongst the commissioners, a question clarification. As I was looking through this one here, on the county parks inventory, looks good. It's just on the water access, is that, because if you go all the way down through it, Egan Park, it doesn't say there's any water access. So are you talking about access to boating water, or are you talking about access to water for availability for camping and those type of things?
Where, can you say what page you're on? for the
Page
water?
Page 6, I'm sorry, Ann.
Probably
And it's just under, I was a little confused when I read all the way down through there because of it says Lake County Fairgrounds, if you go down to about the 5th or 6th one, and yes, there's water access. Then you go up to Drew's and Anna and Laura Cottonwood, it says water access. So I don't know if they're talking about potable water or access to.
It's fishing and boating,
Okay,
water access.
so the fairgrounds is wrong then because there's no access to
Fishing,
fishing.
or boating.
It might be, we'll ask, that is misleading.
I think it's for potable water, or water for camping and that thing is what I think it's supposed to be. I think there's just some confusion there, so maybe we can have that clarification for tomorrow. And I'm sorry, Rory, you're on the phone, maybe you're the right one to ask. I apologize, I forgot you was on the
We
phone.
pointed out an oversight that we made it here, and two different people worked on this inventory, and I think we had a confusion amongst us of what you're pointing out here, what other water access needs, so we'll have to fix that so it's consistent across each park.
Okay, well, I think it's maybe even adding another little thing there that's boating access or water access for potable water.
Well, I would think if it just put potable water access, it would address it because the column prior to that names fishing, boating,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
it's
So anyways, that's just one thing, as I was going through it, that I noticed there that might just be a clarification thing.
On this page too, we also need to list the racetrack. So we're gonna add that
Oh, good.
as an inventory piece. So you're gonna find that this document, will have some things that will change.
Yeah.
In fact, it'll continue to evolve over time, so.
So that's the only thing that I had as we working towards adopting it tomorrow after our next hearing. So. Ken, did you have anything?
Not really, I think I've always said what I need to say.
The other thing too, on page 15, the park name, Silver Lake and improvement. There's been discussions around this public restroom facility up in Silver Lake for quite some time. There's, I think, some strong feelings on one side or the other. So for this plan's sake, we need to just say build a public restroom, period. We don't know exactly where,
Yeah.
we don't know, who, we don't have all those details worked out yet. So right now, the need is just to build a public restroom.
And strike out at the community park.
Yes, yes,
Very good point. Then that sort of evolved during the whole time.
yeah.
Rory, is there anything you'd like to add at this point?
I would only say that, you all have mentioned the level that the federal and state agencies are sort of involved in this plan, and that was a big thing we wrestled with in developing it, and I think we tried to use language that leaves a lot of flexibility for that interagency working group to really take actions that fall in line with the principles of this plan, but yeah, leave them flexibility to do things specifically in the future that aren't in this plan.
Now then, Rory, are you want to be on the phone tomorrow for our next hearing and for possible final adoption?
I could, you'll have to let me know the time for that, but I could probably do that.
10 to 11 tomorrow?
10.
No, 10:10, I'm sorry.
10, okay.
Can you do that, Rory?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
That'll work out just fine.
Okay,
thank you.
would you please phone the 541-947-7011 at 10:10 tomorrow?
Sure thing, I will. Yeah.
All right.
Commissioner, are you familiar with that lake?
Barrett Lake, that's Christmas Valley.
The Park and Rec?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, nothing further to come before us at this. I already closed the hearing, so we'll move on to our agenda. Thank you, Darwin and Rory, everybody that participated, and we'll continue the hearing still tomorrow, or the second hearing.
Come on.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rory.
Sure.
Okay, Thule just arrived, and any closing remarks of this session?
Oh, were you here for the hearing on the park and rec plan?
So.
We've been through the hearing. It started at
I wonder, we'll
9.
do it again tomorrow.
We'll have continued another hearing tomorrow. They're really, the only thing brought up was maybe some scrivener's errors in the plan, and Ann brought another, not really scrivener's error, just a change, the working document, and we had no public comment. So maybe tomorrow we'll not have public comment. 10:10 tomorrow.
Oh, you forgot to say that we made a motion and passed that the Lake County Chamber of Commerce would be the responsible lead party. Come on, let's have a sense of humor, guys.
Okay, so we got a little bit of time before our next timed item that we see here. Is there anybody here that needs to? We don't. Our untimed items for today, we got, for discussion, 2015 fund exchange agreement. Rick is not here. That's an agreement that, just for discussion today.
I told him 9:30.
9:30,
Best guess.
so,
We can wait for
So
you.
that would be my fault.
so I will wait on that one.
I could call Dave. We
Dave,
need him.
Dave is actually, he may be back, but he was going down to the community work camp, man camp, what we're gonna call it, on some fencing. But this, this amendment is one that I've already signed, I can actually speak to it. It's a Warner Creek Correctional Facilities, this is to ratify, it needed to be signed by a certain time frame. And this is the standard, Warner Creek Correctional Facility, work crew, reimbursement exchange. So it was signed on 9/29 by myself, and need to ratify it, so tomorrow we'll ratify it by motion.
And basically, it's a carryover of our work agreement with some changes,
Right, exactly.
updated changes.
Yep. So Dave doesn't need to be here unless you have questions, it's just.
No, I've looked at it, it's just a few dollars increase due to cost of living and so forth, the cost of doing business.
So we still have 10 minutes, Commissioner.
Cover the KLFHP.
That's the Klamath Lake Forest Health Partnership OWAC grant proposal. Is there anybody else coming for that, or is that just?
That's just for our consideration.
Okay.
I've been sitting in for the last several meetings. This group is a nonprofit, they've been around since early 90s, and they kind of went quiet for a while. Now they are revitalizing themselves, and they're actually representing private forest land ownerships. That's usually is intermingled with the national forest lands. And their emphasis is very much, as what the Forest Service have, is a healthy forest. And they work with the landowners, and lots of time, if they have the opportunity, they would work with the Forest Service, if the Forest Service is doing a project in the area, so that it can be a landscape management tool instead of ownership disparity. And they put in the applicant, they'd be applying to OWEB for a, what's the word for a startup? Anyway, capacity grant to hire, because most of these, all of these folks, a mixture of landowners, OSU extension folks, NRCS folks, Nature Conservancy folks, et cetera, kind of is the body of this group. And everybody has their own job, so they're applying for a capacity grant to hire somebody to be part-time or possibly full-time to actually be able to pull together, work with the landowners, put together plans for management of their forest and ecological sound and fire resistant behavior. And they ask for any parties, for any grant, they need to match funds, so they've been asking individuals, and they've asked the county, would we like to contribute to match in some fashion. It could be in kind, or it could be financial, or it could be a mix of financial and in kind.
Then we've had some updates on this, Commissioner Shawn and you both. It seems like, if I remember right, is that in this budget year we're in now, that
We haven't set aside money.
we haven't set aside anything, but by yours or Commissioner Shawn's participation is an in-kind consideration, and they could accept that, and that for this year, it would just basically be in kind, and then we could maybe budget something for the following year. Is that?
That's my recollection.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll need to make an official action on.
And we can calculate mileage and park wages or whatever person participates,
Okay.
either Sean or myself, or you. It's open.
Yeah, it's open, so it could be any of us or all of us at one time, or whatever, and that can be considered very good. Sounds like this is a very good thing, and so what this will do is the grant they're going for would be to hire a person, two-year person as a director,
As a director,
and work towards,
coordinating with the landowners and with the federal
and then
government on forest management.
maybe find a way to leverage funds to continue it on
Yes.
after the 2 years.
Correct.
Okay, very good. It's on our agenda for tomorrow. We'll make an official decision tomorrow on that. And we still have 6 minutes before Mr. Nash is on. We have timed items today. We have the other two, we need the directors here. Is there any updates you want to do at this time, Commissioner, or would you like to just take a 5-minute break until 9:30?
Well, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break, it works good for me until 9:30.
I didn't get that Applegate partnership
I haven't had a chance to look at it.
contacted. Well, let me,
9:30 item is a memorandum of understanding, truancy, SD Superintendent, Mr. Nash.
Yeah, just a little bit of follow-up from the truancy ordinance that the commissioners passed last spring. In getting that approved by the individual school districts, it was pointed out to us that the initial verbiage around this ordinance refers to an intergovernmental agreement between the county and then the three high school districts, District 7, Paisley, and North Lake. And so we were asked by one of those districts to come back to the commissioners and see if we couldn't get an MOU approved. Denise has very kindly prepared one. Basically, it's identical to the initial proposed ordinance, just taking the first page of that ordinance and putting signature lines down for the commissioners as well as representatives of those three school districts.
Denise, has this been sent to legal counsel?
It was.
Okay, so this isn't changing the ordinance?
It doesn't change the
Because we
ordinance.
aren't in the hearing process.
Yeah, all it does is just create an MOU to be signed off by all the parties, which was referenced in the original ordinance.
The ordinance said that we would, and this is a follow-up.
Yeah.
So the ordinance doesn't change, this is just MOU, and is this a yearly MOU, or is this for,
Here's the expiration.
I don't see any expiration or
so
reference to it.
it should be in existence until the ordinance is changed or amended or done away with? Is that the way you understand it?
That's the way I understand it, yeah.
Okay.
I do have one question. You mentioned the three high school districts, Lakeview, Paisley, North Lake. And this is school districts. There's elementary in Plus and Adel.
Yeah, and Denise and I were just having a conversation about that. I really believe that we should limit it to the three larger districts. That's what the original proposal to the commissioners was.
If I remember right, there was an age.
Yeah.
The age thing actually went down to 12, but boy, I don't, you know, we're looking at this mainly as a high school
Concern.
issue. Very, you know, it would be just exceedingly rare that someone would want to use this for somebody. And plus, the other thing is, in my experience, we just don't have those kinds of truancy issues out in the Warner Valley. But we can certainly, whatever the commissioners want, we can include them or not include them. It's just, I was going off of, if you look at the second paragraph of the original proposal, the existing governmental entities of County of Lake School District 7, Paisley School District, and North Lake School District are all desirous of adopting an intergovernmental agreement. So that's where really I was basing that on this proposal.
Just for clarification, could we just add Lake County and school districts number 7, 14, whatever? I think that'd be.
Well, on the second page, on the
the
back
ordinance?
page, that lists those.
Okay.
We're gonna delete the two though, the Adele and the Flesh. We'll take those off prior to signature tomorrow.
Okay. That covers it then.
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns? It's on our agenda for tomorrow, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When you talk 3 minutes and 50 seconds instead of 3.5.
I was way off.
That's not enough time for an ESD update, but I will try to get in sometime here in the near future and give you guys a little ESD update on some things.
Okay, we have plenty of time if you have any updates you want to do now. Or if you want to wait and be prepared and get on the agenda, would be fine.
I think I'd rather wait until I, you know, I'm sure I missed something
I'm gonna need-
important or. No, we have a lot going on. Ken's involved with some of the more exciting things that are going on right now with early learning, and I'd like to save that for another day if I could.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Nash.
Yes.
Have a good day. All right, moving down through our agenda, we'll move to fund exchange agreement. Christie's here. Rick's not coming, I think you said. Come on up to the hot seat there if you would like. So this fund exchange agreement is something we do yearly, usually. I'm looking at this one. This is Flush Adel Road Overlay Lake County. So this one may be just a bit different than our general fund exchange. But the fund exchange is to take federal dollars and we exchange them for 94 cents on the dollar. And that 94 cents on the dollar is much more flexible. The guidelines are much easier to be able to follow. So, Christie, do you have anything else other than sort of what I overviewed there? Nope. No. A lady of few words. So.
Basically, as Commissioner Winter said, it's federal dollars come to the state. If it came on down to us, we would have a lot more stipulations, have additional cost and everything that would actually reduce the amount of money we have to put on the ground. By exchanging it with the state, a lot of those constraints and stipulations will be alleviated. We actually have more money to put on the ground.
Yep. This one here is specific to the Flush Adel Road Overlay Lake County, so.
And that one's complete,
Pardon me?
and that project's complete, so.
Okay. So we will officially possibly approve this tomorrow. But I'm
Okay.
sure we will. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
We want to see if we can get a hold of, did you tell Jake any particular time?
I did not. He did not check in with me today. I have to go see if I can call him. He's right there.
He's right there.
Oh,
There he is.
see how good I am?
That's
Welcome
very
to the hot
efficient.
seat, sir.
Are you sure? I can wait.
No.
Okay,
we're
here I am.
We've been
Okay,
patient.
I
so
apologize for being late. I had
No.
court this morning.
it was not a timed item.
We said, let Jake appear, and you walk through the door.
Here we go.
So we got plenty of time. This is our last non-timed item, other than department updates and others. This is the Community Justice Plan Agreement number 5125. Do you want to give a bit of an overview?
Yeah, this isn't the Justice Reinvestment. This is our State of Oregon and Lake County IGA, number 5.25. This is our state funding for adult community corrections. Our annual, so it's recommended that the board adopt the state plan, which is attached. It was also moved and adopted by the St. Clair Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. The budget for Lake County Community Corrections for the biennium of 2015 to 2017 is $1,960,849. Just a bit of an overview. We, out of that money, we provide administration, which is all of our overhead costs, our rent, our power, phones, my wages, the wages of our administrative assistant. We also provide home detention, community service work crew, and that pays for our work crew foreman as well as our tools, our fuel, vehicle maintenance. We have our custody and sanction beds, which we rent beds from Klamath County, so in cooperation with our Lake County jail manager, Sheriff Paul Hobble. We pay for those beds in Klamath County, and Paul, Lieutenant Hobble, acts as our designee. And we send people over, so that's for 730 bed days a year, which is 2 jail bed days a day for the whole year. We also provide the Sheriff's Office some additional funding because up north they assist us from time to time with our day-to-day jobs. They assist with taking urine samples, they assist with transports when we arrest somebody up there if we don't have a caged vehicle. They assist us in the field contacting various people. So we provide some funding for that, for their time. We also provide some funding for the jail as well, because they too assist us with urine samples. mostly we can send people up on weekends, and they will take those for us, so we provide them personal funding for their assistance. Our budget also covers polygraph examinations for indigent folks convicted of sex crimes. It also provides our sex offender intervention program, substance abuse residential beds that we pay for until Oregon Health Plan is able to kick in. Most often than not, our clients come out of jail and they are not set up an Oregon Health Plan, and we try and get them into residential treatment right away. So we will pay for the time they enter until OHP kicks in. Our field services and supervision, that provides the pump probation officers their salary, their benefits, their fuel, their vehicle maintenance, their materials and services for them to do their job on a day-to-day basis. Our transition services is our subsidized housing. We offset the cost for housing when folks become indigent or when they're released from prison and have nowhere to call home. This also provides for assistance in helping our clients obtain their ID through DMV. The process for that is because of the way the checks work and the way payables get paid here on a weekly, every other week. If I submit it today, I get paid next week. So we will pay for that out of our own pocket, and we will seek for reimbursement so we can get our clients their ID today. And we have a process set up with DMV to do that. Domestic violence batteries intervention program. We have costs associated with that, domestic violence polygraphs. We have our treatment court program, and then we have our MRT cognitive behavioral program set up with Lake County Mental Health. So that's kind of where our money goes. And again, this is a biannual budget, so it's a 2-year budget. So all the costs associated here, if you cut them in half, that's what we have for this fiscal year.
And that budget is state or a mix of state and fed?
It's all state funded.
No state, no county general fund?
Yep. No general fund whatsoever.
So, Lipsy is staff of approval for this, and now you need the Board of Commissioners to accept this
Yep.
biennium plan, so
Yep.
we have it on an agenda for acceptance tomorrow.
Okay, and
And it comes with full recommendation, I believe is unanimous vote by the FTSE.
what's that?
There's unanimous vote by Lipsy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it would. And I believe there's 2 areas that need to be signed. Is that correct, Ms. Larson?
You sign one, and the board signs one.
Okay,
You already signed them. Yours.
okay, so I signed it, and then the chair.
And I believe I asked this just for, I know I asked you this, but what we adopted as our budget as the county, this will not take a resolution or anything to change that budget. It's pretty close to the same.
It's pretty close. At the time I submitted the county budget, I was not aware that the state was gonna require a 2-year budget plan this year. So I think we budgeted just for this fiscal year, just $1,050,000. We are budgeted now about about $986,000 for this fiscal year, so the difference of about $70,000. So I was able to make some reductions in some of my line items. It doesn't affect the overall day-to-day business and coverage, programs or services. It doesn't affect any of those things. So
That's what we needed to hear.
we're good to go.
I'm good.
Thank you, sir. We'll act on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, where we have so many tiny items, sir, and not very many fill in,
Right.
we have no department updates that I'm aware of. Liaison updates, I can get it prepared anything for absolute, just under liaison updates, fill in a little bit of time here. Just let you know that starting next Wednesday afternoon, I'll be off that rest of that week and the following week, vacation, so I won't be around. I don't know at this time if there will be a commissioners meeting that week if you have agenda items. If not, it may be
We are
canceled.
canceled.
We canceled that, so we need to make that. Russ is here, they'll know that.
We should say that tomorrow's session may be a little delayed.
Yeah, tomorrow some people will be, that's one board member may be up in court tomorrow. And so tomorrow's meeting, hopefully we'll be able to open at 10 o'clock and then recess and work through it. There may be quite a few gaps tomorrow in our regular meeting, and the press is here. It may be an unusual meeting day.
Yeah.
So when there's subpoenas, there's subpoenas. You can't get out of them. So, I am myself and Commissioner Chown, we are on, both of us got picked for jury duty, started this week. So for the next 3 months, we may be seeing meeting dates and things change a little bit depending on if we're have jury duty or
One of you couldn't.
defer.
Before.
I may ask Dan that. I want to get mine over and done.
That's okay, if you need somebody that can carry decision-making process.
There you go. As you're aware, Lake Railway will be meeting with us individually here this week.
Tomorrow.
And the sheriff Mike Taylor will be graduating from the academy on this Friday. I was planning on attending. I don't believe I'm going to be able to make it. I have a time-sensitive thing on Friday. If you're traveling or in that area, it'd be great if one of the commissioners.
That's somebody?
Shemeketa.
And that's outside of.
Just outside of Salem.
Salem.
Paul has, Under Sheriff Hobble has all the information on that. It's 10:30 on Friday. So that's about, negotiations continue to go on with Red Rock Biofuels. I will be meeting with the town this afternoon, working on getting the community service fees closer to bring them to the full Board of Commissioners, the full town council. And if we can get that agreement between Red Rock, the town, and the county, then we'll have a proposal, and we'd probably run a special meeting in the future to be able to do that joint meeting with the town and the county. So we're working on that. It's continuing. It's hopeful it might be the first couple of weeks of October, but I'm not sure if we'll make that or not. Maybe latter part of October, first of October.
Good.
That's my liaison updates, and I killed 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, I've got a few little things. Ginger, our SCOA economic person, and I, and some folks with USDA are working to try to get a broadband conference in Oregon. The USDA out of DC, broadband main emphasis is internet out to all the schools, plus Adele, and to the ranch, the homesteads, so the kids can have internet. Anyway, they had a big conference this past summer up in Washington, and we convinced the DC folks to hold one in Oregon. So we're working toward that maybe in late January, February. And the emphasis is to, I hate to use the word, but I will, to educate the people in DC what the ground truth is out here, because they're looking at everything from 30,000 feet, and most of their grants and assistance programs doesn't really come down to the ground level, and that's been our stumbling block in getting broadband out. There's a Main Street conference. I'm on the nonprofit board for the one here in Lakeview, and the Dalles later this week, but I won't be going to that. I've got too many other things popping in. There is a local government advisory committee meeting in Salem on Friday, and the subject is marijuana, and to get everybody up to date on the rules and everything, so I'll probably phone in on that one.
What is the subject matter?
Mary Jane,
Oh.
marijuana, AOC, but the time frame is 10 o'clock to 12, and Sheriff ceremony's at 10:30.
Yeah,
So I won't make, I'll just phone in on one and wish goodwill to the other.
there you go, that's fine, that's very appropriate.
The other things going on, Richard Whitman, research advisor to the governor, he's the one that headed up the Sage Conference. We have a phone conference with him, not this Friday, but next Friday. And he did not disclose just what the septic is, but I suspect it'll be wrapping up what the SageCon group did and how we're gonna implement it from that point on. Just cleaning up details, I suspect.
Just to make a comment, maybe they can review what they didn't get in the rule and everything, it maybe would have been good to be in the rule.
We need some info there.
Well, on the wildlife side,
Oh, on the
definitely
predatory?
predation, on the land use side, definition of large-scale development.
They've got that pinned down, 5 acres and X height and whatever.
So anyway, that's just,
But the predation is what the SageCon was working on, just land use. Predation is a disjunct, but still.
it's in their plan. But if you look at their rule, I think it's called the rule, the Fish and Wildlife, Oregon Fish and Wildlife, is that the rule trumps the plan if things get tight. So I just wanted it in there as a goal, didn't mean they had to do it,
It'll
but
stay in.
acknowledge as a goal
Yeah,
would
we
have
got
been
the
nice.
SageCon that worked on land use, and you got the Oregon Fish and Wildlife Sage-Grouse strategy that addresses predation. We need to stay on top of, because that's where that predator is in that plan.
Yeah,
We
but,
need to stand.
but if all chips are down, the plan goes away and
Yeah.
the rule or whatever trumps it, so
Yeah.
just a goal in there would have
Yeah.
been nice.
On
They've done
the,
such a good job on the spotted owl that they should understand predation now.
yeah. I saw the barred out coming. There will be a telecommunication conference on the 3rd week of this month in Hood River, which I intend to attend. And there's a EOCCO meeting at the end, last Monday in Pemmican, but I think I'm gonna take my wife to the coast. We haven't had vacation like that, but that's in conjunction with the conference, a rural health conference that was in Sun River last year. It's kind of covers EOCCO and everything. Did not attend last year, but it just kind of fit together there. So you can sit in a motel room while I go to the conference.
There you go.
That's all.
You're good? Okay, we're going to take about a 7-minute break, being as everybody showed up, and we'll, because it's timed at 10, we'll come back in at 10. Our agenda's pretty light on other than timed items today.
So thanks for
Okay, we'll come back into session at a couple minutes after 10. Thanks for being patient, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for coming. Commissioner Schown is in DC today, so he's not with us here for our meeting. So our 10 o'clock item is listed as fire season and sage routes update. Which one are we doing first? Fire season first?
Yeah, let's do fire season first.
All right.
Well, thanks for having us today, appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys being.
And first thing I'd like to do is introduce our new deputy fire staff, Rob Allen. Morning. Rob's joining us from Anchorage, Alaska. And I'll let him give a little brief update, his background. Go ahead.
I've been working for Alaska Fire Service for the last 23, 24 years, up actually out of Fairbanks. It's a mixed operation up there too, and then Alaska Fire Service does all the initial attack and fire suppression for all the federal agencies in Alaska. We partner with the state up there really tight, so it's really good. I started on Plumas National Forest in Northern California a long time ago. That's about it. Last couple of years I've spent working with one of the Pacific Northwest Type 1 incident management teams as their deputy incident commander, and I'm still working with them on that. So. Glad to be here.
Well, we're hopeful you bring some of that Alaska stuff with us here this way.
Yes. I've heard that from a lot of people.
I would imagine. Welcome, Rob.
We're very happy to have Rob join our fire staff, Bob Crumrine and myself. He's gonna really add a wealth of experience for us, and he's really good with communicating and working with others. And we're just really pleased to have him. It's gonna add a lot of capacity to our team, so really looking forward to it. I'm speaking here for Forest Service and BLM. Mike Leach is also here for ODF. Betsy Schenk, who is getting a new job with the Fish and Wildlife, couldn't make it today. Today she has a meeting and a farewell party, so to speak, lunchtime here. So, but she asked me to just say a few words for the Fish and Wildlife as they come up. So, anyway, overall, we had a very good fire season here. As you know, going into it, we were very nervous about our conditions with the drought and the probability of a large fire affecting anywhere in our area of any of our lands. All the potential was lined up there to be a really tough scenario. But as you saw with our fire storms that came in, our lightning storms, they brought moisture with them, and we had lightning. You can see on the statistics here, we had quite a few lightning storms, or lightning strikes and starts, but with it came moisture, so it was able to keep our fires at a smaller size, and we thought that was great. So
I witnessed one of those lightning storms as it's coming back from Christmas Valley after dark, coming toward Valley Falls, and you got the northern orange. That whole sky was just constantly lit up.
Yeah.
With sky to ground strikes.
Right.
And I could barely see through the windshield because of the heavy rain.
Yeah, so.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, but you're not given enough credit to the initial attack, and you hear this on me every year. The initial attack, what those men and women do,
Right.
thank them so
Yes.
much, because that's what saves our forests and our lands out there. The rains were great, but without initial attack, they would have still got their berries. I know you're not going to beat that drum, but I will for you. I'm very appreciative.
Oh no, we couldn't do it without them. So
That, they're-
as you can see through Lake and Klamath County here on the stats upper left, we had a total of 225 lightning strike fires, and that's just average, I guess, for us. We did more last year, I know for sure, and the other big statistic here, 62 human-caused fires, but that was also down from last year. And we were able to not have those human-caused fires are the ones that really cause problems for us because we don't know when they're coming. Yeah. And it's easy to build up for a system we see coming in with lightning and potential, and we'll try to bring more resources into our areas. But the human-caused fires oftentimes catch us by surprise. And if you remember 2014, we had Moccasin Hill Fire over by Sprake River, Ferguson Fire, the Bryant Mountain Fire, some of those things that were tough to catch and were expensive because of the time that they happened and whatnot. So,
You might not be able to speak to this, but maybe, I believe it's Mike can, but in the Klamath ODF, there was 34 human-caused fires.
Yes, population base,
Urban sprawl out into the forested areas.
typically, that's about their 10-year average over there,
That's
right
so-
on average.
So that's what you guys sort of work it at every year, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the population base
Mhm.
increases the chance of human cause.
Thank you.
Do we have many campfires related?
boy, not as many as last year. I remember we had tons of campfires, escaping fire rings, people leaving their campfires. It didn't seem like we had to ask for law enforcement to go check near as many fires this year as we had in 2014. So the public really stepped up too and paid attention to our fire dangers, and we appreciate that as well. So,
You did a good job in getting the message out.
yeah. Some things that were different this year, we added a fire information officer to Skafunk to help try to get those messages out to the public as often as we could. Hopefully we were timely and accurate with our press releases as far as getting them out to the public and letting them know the activity happening on South Central Oregon. In the past, we've had better intel on what's happening in Modoc and Central Oregon or over the Rogue Valley than we have in our own area. And we just want to make sure that our public knows what's happening, what we're doing. We're actively chasing all these fires as they happen and trying to keep them as small as possible. The other thing that happened this year is we were in the second year of our combined dispatch center. I felt things went very smooth this summer. We worked out a few of the kinks over the off season. We're a little more prepared. We'll keep fine tuning that, but all in all, I think that everybody was very pleased with the performance and service that we got from our dispatch center. So
Very good.
it was good. We hired good temporary employees. We have good permanent employees, and everybody really contributed and stepped up in that arena as well. So it's very good.
When we had the open house, I was very impressed with all the tools we had
Yeah.
and the professionalism.
So our dispatch center has capacity to take on a lot, and you know, hopefully we don't have to operate it in that manner as much as we, you know, we'll do what it takes as it warrants, but we do have a fine system there and a good facility, and we're very proud of it. So I think it's going to serve us for a lot of years. We just have the breakdown there, then you'll see by each ranger district, guard station, protection area there at the bottom, and you'll kind of see the amount of fires that, percentages and stuff. Hard numbers on the left, the pie chart on the right showing some of those results. So the majority of them were Forest Service with 2.3 million acres. A lot of times that is the case. The Park Service did have the 20,000 acre Crescent Fire this summer, and they are an interagency partner, so they did have one large fire that needs to be thought about.
On the top pie chart,
Yeah,
you have Forest Service BLM management, and then you have two, that 9815, 9825. What are those?
981 and 982 just resembles, 981 is Klamath Unit ODF, and 982 is Lake Unit ODF. Okay, then if you go to page 2, these are the resources that we've sent out of area. If you recall, we had our storms somewhat early this summer. And then as August and September rolled around, we had a lot of nice sunny days and not as many storms. We had the ability to help our neighbors and folks in the Northwest. The state of Washington had a very tough fire season. John Day had a really tough fire season up there, similar to what we had in 2012, some of our fires that we had. So we had the ability to draw down here, get to what we felt we could still protect our area and yet support our neighbors and make sure that we're helping them out as much as possible. So, nationally, we were in a priority PL5, and what that means is everybody needs to go help as much as you can, and we did that the best that we could. I know the fires that I was on in Washington, there was very little help that came in every day. So you had to make do with what you had, and at times there was over 20, 30,000 firefighters out. How many did they say at one time? 30,000?
30,000.
Firefighters out fighting, including the military, on fires in the Northwest and West Coast. So, that's breaking some new numbers and stuff like that. So. Anyway, you see the statistics there. Our seaplanes helped out Vail and Burns quite a bit this summer. One time Vail had 7 or 8 seaplanes working fires over in that area. That fire that was right on the Oregon-Idaho border. It went to 200,000 acres. That was a big air show there as well. The crews, Type 2 crews, those are both agency and contract crews. At times you'll see contract crews here in town that are calling this their home unit. I believe GHP is the acronym there, and those folks get dispatched by our dispatch center as well. So.
Where do we house them?
It's up to them to find their housing, and their company finds something for them. I'm not sure where it is exactly. Yeah. So that shows a pretty high number there. Our hotshot crew, we only have one hotshot crew. That's the Wainema Hotshots, but they had a busy year. 8 assignments is a lot, and they put in a lot of hours. All our people did put in a lot of hours. Kind of see the mix of engines, Type 3, Type 4, Type 5, and Type 6, just depends on the size. Type 6 engine holds about 400 gallons, Type 4 and 3 engines hold around 800 gallons. Water tenders, we have some contract water tenders here in Lake County and Klamath County. Dozers, you can see all those folks had different assignments throughout the year. Some people had assignments and then they continued to rotate people out, and they were on for a long period of time. So miscellaneous overhead, we sent out 938 people. That's a pretty high number. I can't tell you what we did in the past, but again, we were drawn down about as far as we could here to be comfortable and still trying to support everybody. Betsy told me to tell you with the Fish and Wildlife, they didn't have any lightning fires up there this summer. They had 1 false alarm and 2 that were threatening their area. If you see the acres with the BLM of human caused, it showed on the first page, it showed 295 acres. Well, 200 acres plus of that was Heart Lake bed that burned from an ATV start. So anyway, all in all, it was a great fire season, and we're really pleased to be able to keep it full.
Good job.
Do you have any questions?
30,000 firefighters at one time across the west.
That was actually just in Region 6,
Just
Oregon and Washington.
Oregon and Washington.
There was more engaged in California.
I just, and I don't know the right way to really say this, but the amount of accidents and death with that many people out there is kept very, very low. Can't belittle any death or any accidents out there, but that's a lot of people.
Right.
Severe fire conditions, all kinds of things, so pretty darn good operations, so.
Our safety record, I think, was very good. I'm not aware of of our local resources of very many injuries or things that happen.
A lot of people
We did
put out
have
there in
some-
those conditions.
Yeah, we did have some fatalities across the United States this summer,
Yeah.
which is very unfortunate, but all in all, very good safety record, considering the amount of hours put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're probably pushing the envelope. But we talk safety every day.
Yeah.
Fire, that's our business that we do.
And fire behaviors and with the fuels out there and with the drought conditions are just, you know a lot more than I do, they're extreme now, so.
Yeah.
Very dangerous out there, so that's impressive. So,
Betsy's taking a job down in California, right?
She's taking a job in California, yes. And their Fish and Wildlife is deciding what they want to do, whether to fill behind her or how they are going to move forward with their fire organization. So we've had some discussions on that. Nothing to report at this time. So.
Any other questions? Anybody else have anything else to add?
Well, I'll just add that of all the people that have been sent out and the small contingency you kept here, you did an outstanding job. We didn't have as many potential lightning strikes or things get away with help. But the coordination and the fluidity that you guys demonstrated was very impressive.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our airport reconstruction didn't seem to be an issue. Seats was able to get in and out just fine and all that. Next year it'll all be, they're paving as we speak, so that'll be done, so.
Yeah, we have some long-term goals, hopefully to address with our seat base. We want to improve it, make it better. We're slowly striving
If we can
to
find
do
just a
that.
few dollars to extend our runway another 1,000 feet, you can get the tankers back in.
There you go.
Just a few dollars. Just a few dollars. All right, so I guess that's it for the fire update. We'll move on to sage grouse. You're wanting to break and run when I say that.
Oh, Barry, I haven't had a chance to say congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So, I'm John Owens.
Welcome, John.
I know mostly everybody here. So I work with the BLM, I'm a biologist, been there about 6 years or so now. So I just have a short presentation for you guys. I don't think it's gonna be too.
On sage-grouse.
It is on sage-grouse, and basically I'm gonna talk to juniper and a lot of like the juniper that we've been treating out there. Sage-grouse has been a pretty big topic the last a number of years.
That's an understatement,
right? So I'll just jump right in. How do I? Okay, so you guys probably know a lot about sage-grouse. They're able to occupy a lot of different habitats. Part of why they've been chosen as a species of interest is because they occupy so many different habitats. And so by protecting the sage-grouse, you might be protecting other species also around there. Most of our focus for where we do juniper treatments are in areas where we consider these core areas where they're concentrated, so the sage-grouse focal areas. I think it's important to point out that they have this strong site fidelity to areas regardless of the habitat conditions. So they'll persist or not persist in an area just based on habit. So they'll be in an area, for instance, there's, over the Trout Creeks, they have a large area that burned in 2012. They've put radio collars and GPS collars on birds. And what they're showing over there is that the birds that were captured in the burned area are staying in the burned area. And the habitat's pretty terrible, but they're still persisting there. And then the birds that they captured outside the burned area have been staying out, so they haven't been mingling across that border, so.
And that brings up a question I have. If we doing juniper treatment with the expectations that sagebrush will move into those and reoccupy those areas. Do we have any validation of that?
Not yet. I think, what we're hoping to see is that movement into those areas that we've treated. I think there's been a little bit, but I think it's gonna take generations of birds.
More than two at a time.
Right, it's gonna take more time, for those birds to disperse and establish those new areas. As,
But most of those areas at one time were habitat, and there was sage grouse there.
Correct.
That are most of the juniper management.
Yeah, and a lot of those areas, I keep clicking the wrong darn button, sorry. So I think, yeah, like you were saying, a lot of those areas, pre-settlement, the juniper was basically only in the areas where the fire kind of knocked them back.
Knocked back junipers.
Knocked back junipers, and the junipers were, the juniper trees at least were held up in areas where fire didn't carry through because of soils or topography. And so we had pockets of juniper, but it wasn't widespread like it is now. You know, it's been an increase since 90%, 65 to 90% increase since the late mid-80s, like 1800s, sorry. And why that's important is because as juniper, we have different phases of juniper. I'll kind of skip this one, maybe come back to it, but we have different phases of juniper that impact the sage-grouse habitat, or the sagebrush and the grasses within their habitat. You have this early phase one, where trees and saplings have just started to establish, and there's really no difference in the understory. Those trees really aren't affecting the sagebrush. This is kind of a low-risk area. As they get bigger and start occupying more habitat, the trees, the shrubs start to decline. And phase three, the trees dominate and the shrubs and plants plummet. And it's important here that phase three is kind of a, this is where I think the fire danger and weed invasions become most prevalent. This is kind of a dangerous situation for fire. It'll carry through and you lose lots of habitat that way. So when we're doing our juniper treatments, we're actually concentrating mainly on those, on the phase one and phase two areas. Because we can still get back that understory component we haven't, it hasn't been lost yet.
And we still have the sage grouse happening in these areas, so your question was more too well the sage grouse have been excluded, but these areas still have sage grouse in it.
Correct. And so, I guess this little bottom part here is that without us doing anything with the juniper and treating these and removing it, a lot of that phase one, phase two is going to transition to that phase three in the next 30 to 50 years.
John, can you explain that one slide that you passed over?
Oh, sure. So I passed over this slide. And this is so Lac is the breeding grounds where all the birds gather up, dance, and choose mates. And the arrow there is pointing to about 4% cover. It takes very little juniper cover on the landscape to actually affect how a sage grouse will visit a site for a lack of attendance. Yeah.
And is that because of the vertical structure or the raptors?
Actually, I think maybe less. Yeah, it's vertical structure. I think is more. It could be also because of the it allows a perch site for some of the raptors, but, and it, I don't know, Todd, maybe. You have
I don't speak sage grouse, I haven't been able
I
to, so
don't know.
why. It's presumably vertical structure for the most part.
And so that's kind of an important threshold that,
And that affects the lek utilization, but it doesn't necessarily affect habitat utilization.
correct.
But our telemetry data with habitat utilization, it's very similar. So the take-home message is you can have very little juniper on a landscape, and the grouse will quit using it. Far less than we ever imagined.
Well, I have to give a hunter's perspective. I put in for sage grouse tags this year. I've hunted many years. Hot, dry conditions, I go to the juniper.
They shade.
So I appreciate everything. I think there's a management tool for the juniper side also. It's not eradicate everything. There's part of a habitat out there that I see that the sage grouse actually utilize it. Right? And I'm really paying much more attention to this year. The raptors were sitting on rocks about a half mile away as we were shooting sage grouse over here out of the junipers. So I think it's probably my opinion, not a biologist, is around the water and everything, but you hate to have too many junipers around the water because it takes water. But that's pretty much a few scattered junipers in that area is probably a positive thing for the habitat, I believe.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong. It's not about juniper eradication. And it's also, we're preserving or conserving those pre-settlement trees. You know, those provide great habitat for cavity nesting birds and aesthetics and various other things. So it's not every juniper is a bad juniper.
No, it's
ideal.
stand density management.
Right. And so we did go out, I think it started in 2010. The BLM went out and inventoried all this juniper in the South Corners. I'll show you the map here. But it was a stand-by-stand assessment. And so it covered about 70,000 acres, and only about 25,000 acres, about 25,000 acres actually had juniper on it that we considered treating or removing. And so some of those treatments, I apologize, my slides are kind of out of order here a little bit from how I'm speaking. The treatments were, you know, when you have this small scattered trees, it was just to cut the trees and loft them. So aesthetically, they were below a certain height, so you didn't see those. At the larger densities, it was a cut and burn. And then the larger ones, where it was more dense, it was cut, pile, and cover. As we were working through this project, a couple of things happened. Actually, we knocked down a few trees, decided to lop them and gather them up and put them in piles so that we could burn them, because we didn't get to them when we thought we could. And what it helped us do is it identified that cut, pile, and cover allowed us a great window, a big window, to actually go back in the wintertime and take care of these piles, so we could clean up our piles. And so, moving on to the future, a lot of our treatments now are cut, pile, and cover, just so we can have a nice window for our firefighters, and then in the wintertime burn and get a lot of that cleaned up out there.
We're hopeful that the biomass comes in, we don't have to burn it.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the alternatives that the BLM originally looked at, was that biomass. I think at the time it was more of a road and access issue than anything. So far, since 2012 to going into this winter, we only have about 4,800 acres that we need to still treat in that South Corners. from this project, there was, we've been talking with the fire and the weed management side of things. And there was a fire and invasives assessment team that gathered up probably earlier this year. What they did is they identified, we want to identify areas that if we could have a project in an area that took care of fire-related issues and invasives, like cheatgrass and Medusa head, where would we go? This map, it's kind of hard to see. The upper left orange area is the Clover Flat area. It's about 20,000 acres. The rest of the other orange is about 114,000 acres. The blue is that South Warner project. And like I said, it was about 70,000 acres, but only 25,000 acres we were gonna do treatments in. So those other orange areas are areas that we've already done an inventory on. And we're getting ready to move forward with treatments in those areas.
As far as the treatment, that's very expensive, and you do it mostly by contract.
We do.
How's the future budget, maybe more directed to them? Sustainability of the program, is it positive?
I think it's looking very good, actually. There's a lot of money coming down for sage grouse and fire, and so.
This is one element of non-listed.
Right, and yes, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up. Part of the reason why it wasn't listed or withdrawn from listing was that there is a lot of these on-the-ground juniper treatments that the SGA, the NRCS, has done range-wide. And so this is important, even though they are withdrawn from listing, we gotta continue to work and stay in that direction. It's not, can't stop where we are.
And you're focusing mostly on phase 1 and 2 as opposed to the denture stands, right?
Right, I think the phase 3, the understory is so degraded that cutting and removing juniper in there, we're opening it up more to, and you know, grasses and other issues, erosion. There's a lot of issues. It's the phase 1 and phase 2 is our best bang for the buck, where we can make the most impact on.
The reason I can't bring that up is, as Commissioner Leonard alluded to earlier, the biomass aspect is more conducive to phase 3 or denture. Because phase 1 and 2, you don't have that much biomass or wood product. So,
and so maybe I didn't point it out earlier, but it is not just sage grouse, but it is for mule deer, bighorn sheep, and pronghorn habitat also.
sage sparrow.
And sage sparrow. So there was a 2-year study. This is that treatment area, the South Warner area that we've done most of our cutting. So they had 600 sampling points or so, and they were looking at the effects of juniper removal and treatments on board population densities. And what it showed is there was an immediate benefit. The populations rebounded very quickly, just within their short study there. And so it's a big benefit just to even other species.
When you go through on stage 1 and 2, you got all the little babies out there that, so you had to come back in 10, 15 years.
Right.
To capture those too, right?
Yeah, these projects are, I don't think they've ever been viewed as a one and done project. It'll be a continuing project to monitor those. Obviously, I think a lot of those do get missed. Those little ones get missed. But they're a lot easier to take care of once they're when we have the small ones. We can knock them over or, yeah.
So I'm quite interested on the type of monitoring for the sage grouse and other wildlife and everything out there. That's gonna be an ongoing monitoring, seeing as what ones come in and how the growth patterns are, I guess, as far as population. You're gonna have a pretty good program to continue that way.
To continue monitoring the sage grouse. Actually, we're on our second PhD student that was actually even looking at the juniper and the sage grouse movements related to the juniper. We actually every year go out and count the leks in coordination with the ODF&W, so we monitor these birds quite heavily, at least in these areas. We have recently bought GPS transmitters that we've put on the birds, and the idea is that once these PhD students are done, we can actually start distributing these GPS collars out in other areas to get information on birds that we haven't monitored.
So with the GPS collaring, I know during the elect time, the strutting time, I mean, they're all consolidated. But the GPS, you'll be able to tell how far out they go. If some of the places that you've eliminated some of the juniper, that's not the elect area, it's still core habitat, you'll be able to see how far they do go out.
Yep, absolutely.
That'd be good.
And one of the slides I probably forgot to put in here is, we do have one that already has moved down into California, where it's a nice, clean, square-looking block of area that had been treated for juniper, and the juniper is knocked down, and a bird from our area has gone down and stayed within the bounds of that cut.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I should have included that for you.
I think it'll take many years, I mean, of following this and doing the monitoring and everything, but I think it'll be a very positive change, it really will. Other questions?
Pygmy rabbits.
I figured you're gonna go feral horses.
Not yet, that's another topic. Of course, that's a sagebrush dependent species too, so it's benefited along with the sage sparrow and what I always called a three-legged sagebrush spider and all the other species we don't know about yet.
Right.
But two people do. Anyway,
Three-legged sagebrush spider.
that's been my pet too. But it's benefited multi-species. When you're out there monitoring sage grouse, are you still monitoring pygmy rabbits?
We are. Where the pygmy rabbits occur are slightly different. They're in deeper soils, the bigger sagebrush. So I don't know if there's very little overlap where the sage grouse are, and where our treatments, or the pygmy rabbits are, and our treatments for juniper.
Yeah,
But
I like that. Shouldn't be.
we did do a survey recently and found a few other areas where we didn't know where pygmy rabbits were, just this last couple of weeks ago. So we are still monitoring those.
Well, do you have any, as far as monitoring or density, juniper density management? Just kind of looking at different stages, and then core habitat, non-core habitat, or your criteria for directing where the projects go?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We do have the core habitat and where the birds are concentrated. And so we have these sage grouse or sagebrush focal areas that
Maintain the best first.
right, and so that's, yeah, maintain those strongholds for the sage grouse. And that's partly, when you're looking at this map, that's why these are the kind of, the orange are in that shape. Those happen to be within those sage grouse core areas.
Apart from juniper, another question, Paisley Desert area, we don't have a lot of really high bird density out there. Why is that? Is it water, or is it?
I don't know why. We had 8 historic leks in the Paisley Desert. When we started looking around the 2000s, none of those leks were active. We've since found 2 active leks in the Paisley Desert, kind of on the fringes? It's a good question.
Good research, because that's a large area.
We've done an extensive amount of looking in that area, many different efforts, both on the ground and from the air, and just found very little activity.
And juniper is not an issue out there.
While I've been out there, there's a lot of places water is the issue, though there's not a whole lot of water.
Yeah, I suspect the biggest issue is understory. There's a significant amount of sagebrush there, but when you look at the understory herbaceous component, the grasses and the forbs, there's just not a lot there in a lot of areas, and I think that's the issue.
You good?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the fire update also.
You bet.
Appreciate it very much. And once again, everybody that works on initial attack all the way up, thank you, everybody. Good work out there. Great year to not have any big fires.
I'm gonna duplicate it next year.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Larry, all right on? Okay, well, good. Todd, how are you? Let's see.
Mr. Cahill.
Good morning, how are you?
Very good. Come on up. You are next. About a minute and a half early, which I think is fine. So,
Kind of bit of an early
and welcome. And so you're going to give a District 7 update.
Yeah, thank you for having me, commissioners, and I'm kind of transitioning into this new job and everything, learning a lot of things, and, you know, trying to get the district in a good spot, so. Just a few things. Homecoming week was last week, a very successful week. Volleyball team was victorious in their matchup with Road River, and football team varsity beat Modoc, which is also a significant victory too with our history with Modoc and everything. So we were very happy about the week. Kids had a great time and staff did a great job, so we were very happy about that. Some other things coming up, and this next one you're cordially invited to attend Union Playground through the Parents Club, the school district, and other community funders. A complete redo on the Union Playground, a complete play set, swing sets and everything else. We're having a dedication on Friday, this coming Friday at 2 o'clock, and you're very welcome to attend that and be a part of that activity.
At Union School.
At Union School, yeah. So, the Parents Club did an outstanding job of really getting this project together, raising the money for it, and getting it off the ground. My compliments especially to our district maintenance crew who, you know, coordinated and got all the equipment up and everything along with the parents. It was just a wonderful community activity, so we're very proud of that. Soccer field, we've been in project mode this summer. We got the soccer field, continue to work through that. We've got to add more length to it, which is the fill is going in. We're not sure about turf right now with this weather being what it is, but come early spring when the weather clears up, we'll get the turf in and finish that up, get the team on it next year. The positive side is the Pop Warner teams and the AYSO teams have been practicing on that field, and it's provided another additional opportunity to, you know, give more area for kids to practice and to use. Between the gyms and field space in this district, it's pretty tight with all the activities we have. And there's a lot of between Pop Warner football, AYSO soccer, and also our own school activities. So it's a real tribute to the community that we have all these additional activities, and it's wonderful, and, you know, something to be very proud of. About a year ago, through Mr. Gallagher, we brought an additional person in the district to, you know, mechanic the buses and take care of the buses, and we're in the process of building a bus shop for our mechanic, John Roberts, to be able to not lay out the hot sun on the asphalt or in the wintertime, lay in the snow to fix those buses. So the footing's been poured, and we're waiting for trusses and that, and we're getting that off the ground. And our completion date on that is supposed to be, I believe, November sometime. Lakeview High School gym, part of also the facilities improvement thing.
come the end of October, well, actually, excuse me, the end of November, 1st of December, in between volleyball and basketball season, we are replacing all the bleachers in the Lakeview High School gym. Now, the current bleachers have been in there since 1962 when the gym was built. The new bleachers are going to be much safer. They'll have walkways in them compared to, I watched my mother-in-law try to navigate the current seating configuration, and we'll have walkways in there which will be much safer, you know, for our senior citizens to navigate.
Whoever put that forward, thank you so much for that. Just a liability that's been waiting
Forever.
forever.
So anyway, so we're really excited about this project. We worked with the school board, we talked about it, we went back and forth and back and forth. Are we just gonna do the bottom, or are we gonna do the bottom and the top? And our conclusion was, we moved some money around and we're doing both. So, right now we have the existing bleachers for volleyball season, come basketball season, brand new bleachers. So we're very happy about that. In addition, reason why we moved some money around, you've seen it in the paper, we're applying, and here's why I'm gonna ask for a letter of support if possible. We're applying for a Career Technical and Education Revitalization Grant, which is Career Technical Education, CTE is the acronym. Over the past, I'm gonna say 20 years, where schools have had to make cuts, the biggest thing that's suffered is vocational programs. SHOP, ag, home ec, business, they've all been casualties of severe budget cuts. Myself, I think some of you know my origin. When I started my career in education as an ag teacher at Faith Advisor, so my passion is with this, as well as everything else. But Fred Smith, he is quite a grant writer, and he and I have put together a committee involving natural resource people and also agriculture people. We're applying for this grant. The amount we're applying for is $400,000. What we intend to do with that is to renovate the current ag shop, which currently has a MIG welding area that has no ventilation. We want to install MIG welding stations down there, which will be also plus with our welding classes that we do with KCC. It's also going to involve replacing a power pole and getting more power into that ag shop. Right now, our current power supply is not adequate enough to handle all the welders in there, between the arc welders and the MIG welders. We need more power in that shop, so the grant is going to do that. I raised money back probably 10 years ago to install a paint booth. We've had some issues as far as when the bubble hit economically. We haven't been able to finish up the paint booth, so the paint booth will be a part of that grant as well. The greenhouse, we want to move the greenhouse from its present location down at the district office up to the school facility, probably in that lawn area between LHS and DMS, so it's more accessible to the program and the kids aren't walking back and forth every day, which wastes valuable class time. That's just the start, and we really, most of those natural resource folks in here are on my committee. And a part of this is to really join ourselves with the natural resource industry as well as the ag industry as well. So we've involved Claire Thomas. I think you know the good work he does in involving more summer apprenticeships for students as far as preparing them for a career in natural resources, whether they field entry into BLM, Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, or whatever. So that's a component of this grant as well. So I see it, Mr. Smith has extensive grant writing experience. We're very hopeful that we will be successful on this, but of course, as always, there's competition out there, and we will see how it fleshes out.
Who would be the grantor?
The grantor is the Oregon Department of Education, and they receive it through federal dollars. And once again, I think between the feds and the state, they've recognized that we really diminished our career technical education programs over the years. We've got to get kids back in doing some hands-on training again. I think the thing that the public is recognizing is that we have a shortage of people who can turn a wrench, swing a hammer, any of those career technical education areas. So, as a former Vokey, I am very excited about the prospects of this grant and what it will do for Lakeview School District.
I applaud you on that.
So,
We need it. Yes.
anyway.
Can I ask what the match is for $400,000?
Well, currently, right now, there is no match. It's open for just application and hopefully receipt. But however, our community partners are writing letters as far as what they will commit to the process. For example, we received a letter from the Forest Service saying that they will contribute at least $10,000 in, human resource time as far as field trips, teaching, apprenticeships, and so on. So we had a commitment from them in that regard, so.
So, and for us to do a letter of support, if you have some recommendations of.
Yeah, I can
things
bring
we
you,
put in there.
Amy Marcus from the Forest Service just did a wonderful letter. I call it our template for this thing. So what I can do, fellas, I can email that to you and have you look it
Give
over.
it to Denise, she's the one that keeps us
Okay.
straight.
Okay.
And puts the letters together.
I will
for
do
us.
that, so.
So that, and I really commend you bringing the federal and the state agencies, because as we educate our kids and they go off to college, if they come back as a biologist or the foresters and things,
Right.
we bring, in my opinion, some people that's pro-management instead of shut down.
Right.
So I commend you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for,
You bet.
we push that way with Watershed Group. We was
Right.
able to get some dollars there to try to educate our youth, try to get them back home. So,
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
you're
nice.
welcome. Another grant that is coming up, I can't really ascertain what the dollar amount is on that, but I've also, Mr. Smith and I are pursuing, it's the STEM grant, science teachers, engineering, and mathematics. And we're gonna apply the current construction shop program to that grant. And hopefully, if we get the ag program, the ag shop renovated, which also, I forgot one thing, we're gonna try to get the geothermal into it too. We're going to do the same thing with the wood shop, and get it all updated, get the ventilation systems changed out, and also get geothermal into it too. So that's a separate grant we're looking at.
So the grant goes to facilities mostly.
Yeah. That's the great thing about it. I asked the person who's coordinating this, I said, usually they don't like capital improvements. And he said, this particular grant, they want capital improvements, which really excited me, because traditionally any grants that I've been involved with, they totally dislike that.
On the other side of the coin, over the years, schools have depleted themselves of the vogue vocational because of budget.
Right.
Now we get the grant for the facility structure, are we gonna have the money for the instructors?
We have brought back FTE this year for career and technical education. I think we brought back a full person.
Good.
So there are additional classes this year. The programs we have, construction technology and drafting, Fred Smith, agriculture, Christy Reese, business education, Danae Bauer, and then the culinary program has really taken off. June Albertson Dick, she was half-time last year, we elevated her to full-time because there's so much need and popularity with her classes. So we have increased FTE in those classes, and the students are racing out to take them too, which is wonderful. So.
Yeah, we need a good mix. Not everybody needs to go and be a PhD in astrophysics.
No, go into liberal arts or whatever, so. Anyway.
Back to the soccer thing, on Union, I'm a strong supporter. I grew up being an American football enthusiast, but I really like soccer because it's international. And get kids engaged in soccer, then they watch Argentina play Belgium and just broaden their perspective. Union School, do we have an option of soccer out there?
Yeah, they do play soccer out there. A year ago or 2 years ago now, when they trenched out the 80 Hay playground for the geothermal thing, 80 Hay playground was shut down for an entire fall. We moved all the soccer activity out to Union School.
Okay, excellent.
AYSO really liked it. It was a very good facility for them to do practice and games on both, so. Well, one last thing. I think it's no secret that the Roseburg issue last week, it brought a huge level of concern to all of us who exist in these public buildings and everything, and we are moving forward as a district to involve law enforcement in analyzing our safety plans, analyzing our building accesses and everything else. I'm meeting with all three branches of law enforcement on October 19th with the building principals to devise safety plans. October 30th is a full day of no kids, half day teacher staff engagement in the morning. We're going to be doing some education related to the active shooter that morning. And then on December 12th, and forgive me, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but the DPSST team is coming in to do active shooter scenarios at Fremont School. So far, we've done one at 80 Hay back in March. Unfortunately, the deputies all got called out that day. We had 2 reserve deputies, that's it. So I'm looking forward to trying to get as many officers of all 3 branches on this training at Fremont School on December 12th. So that is, and really make them aware of our basically our plan as far as dealing with this if we should, God forbid, this ever happens. So anyway.
I think it's very smart to be proactive on this.
Right.
Very, very smart.
So that's the news from Lake County School District 7. Any questions?
I think we covered it.
I'm impressed, thank you.
Thank you.
Get a vote back into school is great.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
The construction program was a godsend for us on those projects. You know, they built the farm out there and the 4-H, FFA for 4-H farm.
Yeah.
And put the sheds and, you know, built a lot of stuff out there, so.
Yeah, they do some great things. So.
Excellent.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, that brings us to our 11 o'clock item.
Could I have a 2-minute break?
We can have a
Coffee
2-minute
break?
break. That brings us to a short break.
Darwin?
How you doing?
come back into session. We have Obsidian Renewables payment in lieu of tax agreement proposal. Mr. Gregory, sir, welcome.
How you guys doing?
And your partner in crime is?
Lori Hutchinson.
Welcome, Lori.
She's
Thank you.
Lori's our project manager for projects, so we'll be seeing a lot of her over the next couple of years. For the record, my name's Todd Gregory, I'm with Obsidian Renewables. Today, I'd like to talk to you guys about some new legislation that passed in the last session, which allows for solar projects to enter into agreements with counties in a payment in lieu of tax agreement. We call it pilot agreement, is the acronym, for solar projects. The issue with larger scale solar projects historically had been that the state really didn't know how to tax them, and didn't have any experience with solar projects when we were in here. So that created a lot of uncertainty as to how the projects were going to be taxed. Which, uncertainty in the business world is not good because people that finance these projects and developers like to have some certainty around what the numbers are going to be for taxation, so they can run their economic models and give us some accuracy to try to figure out if these projects are feasible or not. And then from the county's perspective, we got a lot of feedback that the counties would also like to have some certainty because in their modeling and taxation models, they'd like to know how much these things are going to be bringing in. And so when we're talking to economic development people and county assessors trying to figure out what the tax roll is going to look like, they'll have some certainty as well. And there were some other counties that, Klamath County comes to mind, that had some issues with renewable energy projects where they were, constantly fighting appeals, because nobody really knew how to value these properties. So, so we worked together with AOC and the Association of Cities and the Department of Revenue. During this last legislative session, there were a group of developers, a group of stakeholders, worked with, like I said, AOC, cities, and the state, try to come up with a sensible program for solar, sensible for the counties and sensible for the folks in my world, the development world. So we passed some legislation which allows counties to enter into agreements with solar projects and folks developing solar projects for where the solar projects pay $7,000 per megawatt AC up to a 20-year contract. So if you have one of the projects that is in front of you guys, it's called Black Cat 2. It's an 8 megawatt project. So it should be $56,000 a year. It's a real simple contract. $7,000 for $7,000 a megawatt times 8 for 20 years, $56,000 a year. Everybody knows what the taxes are going to be, and then we move forward. So there's a couple of other projects that we had already built that were smaller projects that we're trying to put under a pilot agreement as well, because they were kind of in no man's land from a solar perspective. They were not big enough to do a red zone agreement, but too big to be net metered and exempt. For most solar projects are exempt. They're if they're net metered or if they're on a rooftop or something like that, or they're exempt from taxation. So these projects were kind of stuck in the middle. They're kind of taxed at full boat, and the property taxes as a percentage of revenue on those projects is just kind of crazy. Like 18 to 20% of revenue went to pay property taxes. So we want to kind of normalize the property tax on those projects as well.
With that, I have a question, because looking through the legislation, page 2, number 7, it says property constituting a solar project that has received an exemption under RS. So these ones didn't receive an exemption.
No.
So they are eligible even though they're prior to the dates legislation talks
Yes.
about in here?
Yeah, you can put them on. They've never got.
But if they'd been a red zone, then they wouldn't have been eligible.
No, they would have been eligible, it's just if they were exempt, they wouldn't be, if they were exempted from property taxes, then, they wouldn't be eligible.
Well, I don't believe we have any of those in Lake County.
None of our projects.
None of your projects. So these ones qualify because of the rather full taxation.
Yeah, the smaller ones, the 363 and the 500 would qualify. So I drafted 3 agreements. When I say I mean my attorneys have drafted 3 agreements. And these are it's the same agreement that Klamath County just signed for another developer project. We worked with our developers to kind of make sure that everybody was seeing the same thing and everything was consistent across the board. The only difference between the contract that you see for our projects and the one that Klamath County signed for the project they did, theirs was for 15 years and this one is proposed for 20 years. So the 20-year agreement is better for the county, actually, because when you kind of look at the numbers, for when it would flip to regular taxation, the county would actually receive more, for those last 5-year figures, 15 through 20, at $56,000 than they would if it was on regular taxation, because that's at the tail end and the least valuable, portion of the project. So.
I do have your numbers and so I'm a little bit confused on those. And I ran them several different ways, but they don't show if there was a 3 or a 5-year agreement for the first 5 years. So I sort of, that's easy enough for me to figure a 5-year on an 8 megawatt. And what we generally charge $5,000 per megawatt for that first 5 years. But whenever you get down the tail end of it, it's showing the 20th year that there is no tax coming in and the value is 0. Whenever I believe through the taxation that there's a time that it comes in that the value may have went down, but they go onto the revenue side and they figure taxation, so this doesn't take that into account at all.
No, it does, because the way the valuation goes on the income, it's called the income method. On the income method, they take basically a 20-year rolling average, okay, of the revenue, and then they discount it back. So if you get into, once you get into year 10 or so, you start getting out into years, well, that rolling average is a lot less because you typically only have like a 20-year power purchase agreement. So your income out past 20 years is gonna be really, really, really low. Or, we don't know what it's gonna be. And so the rolling income average goes way, way down, just like it would if you were appreciating the property on a cost basis.
Okay, but you get down to where there's 0 in the 20th year, that there's no on the income approach and there's no tax being paid on the 20th year.
Well, it's, right, there will be some de minimis amount of tax, but, we don't know what that's gonna be, because it's 20 years out, and we don't know what the revenue's gonna be, because it will be out of contract, and we don't know what on a cost basis, it's not gonna be worth, it's gonna be fully depreciated, so, the state doesn't put a number on it, because there's just no way to predict what that number is.
My other question, 3 that you're proposing, there would be no decisions made today, it'd be your regular session tomorrow. You have a megawatt, or 8 megawatt, and then a 0.495, and then a 0.333. On your 0.333, What was the cost to construct a site that size?
We did that one in 2012. Cost to construct that would have been, I don't know, I hate to, I'm gonna say it was about, I think the assessed value was about 700,000.
And the only reason why I ask is as I ran the numbers and myself building a new house here about 8 years ago, and knowing what it's assessed at and what the amount I paid to build it myself, the taxation on this is much less than what my house per year investment was, much more than what mine was.
Well, there's actual data on there what we paid tax, because we paid it, to the assessor's office, and I think we
Yeah.
paid.
I went down, I didn't know those two projects, I never went down and checked on it.
Yeah.
Our assessors sat here, I checked on.
Yeah, I think it was about, I think we paid, we wound up, to the point of, to the point of spending, resources on, appeals. So the first year we got an assessment on the 263, we appealed it because we thought it was too high, the valuation was. So we spent, a fair amount of time working with the state. We came up to, amicable settlement, but we don't wanna have to do that every year, appeal the things, and the state realizes that they don't know. But I think we wound up paying like $10,000 or $11,000 in tax on that project. So, $10,000 or $11,000 in tax on a project that, generates, $80,000 a year in revenue. It's quite a good chunk of tax that we pay.
Once they're built, there's no manpower, there's no jobs created for long-term or anything. So your overhead cost compared to other businesses is much less.
Overhead's about 20%. It's a fair amount of maintenance out here. The infrastructure out here, as you well know, when you live there, it's pretty old. So every time you have some kind of weather event or lightning, coming around, we have to bring people out to turn the thing back on, and fix some stuff out here because of, the infrastructure. But, so the maintenance is, we pay a fair amount of money on, maintenance on those projects too. So it's not all profit after you build it, put it that way. I wish it was.
Payment in lieu of taxes, that would be 7,000 per megawatt or whatever to the county.
All taxing, it's distributed to all the taxes.
That's what it's going to do. It's still distributed
Yes.
to the taxing district.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's distributed, assessors probably know better than me, but I think it's distributed the same way
Okay.
under any other taxing.
I was just curious about that.
We tried to, in the legislation, get it to be where local jurisdictions would have more authority over that money, more flexibility over the money, similar to what we do with the red zone, with $5,000. And it was actually AOC and the cities in the state, the government entities that were fighting us on that. They just said, no, we got to split it up even. So, we tried.
So, there's good points either way, but to ensure that the taxing districts give what they really need is good.
So your proposal is for 3 different pilot programs to be for 20 years. Our latitude, I guess, is we can put whatever number of years we want, whether you accept that or not. It's up to 20 years. It doesn't mean that it has to be 20 years. As I read the legislation and everything, that's really only the flexibility the county has at all is the number of years. I have to tell you, I'm very disappointed. I wish I would have been engaged that there is no 3% increase over the year when we're 78% publicly owned here, so 22% is our tax base. And our citizens get basically 3% every year. And And so with this, there's no increase, it's straight $7,000 per megawatt for 20 years, which is a long time. That's not your fault, that's not my fault. I wished I would have been engaged though.
Well, part of the reason for the legislation was, I'm not, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you there's no benefit to the developer, because there is. I mean, there's, part of the policy behind coming up with this was to encourage renewable energy development, and, Lake County's always been very supportive of solar development. They actually, I know Commissioner Shown, who's not here today, worked with AOC pretty closely on the drafting of the legislation, and Lake County, I think, testified in support of the legislation.
No,
And,
I don't believe he did, but if, we can ask him, that.
well, I
and
know
don't think he testified.
AOC,
I know he engaged with some
yeah,
people.
AOC held up Lake County as the poster child for where this would be. In their testimony, said Lake County is the perfect place for this legislation. So it was basically drafted for, Lake and Klamath County, because that's where all the solar projects are.
That's where the development's going on, right? But I don't want to speak for Commissioner Shown, but I asked him that question, and he may have a little bit different view than what you just put there. He did engage on it, but he didn't testify. I don't believe.
There was support.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do know that LCRI, and we discussed that, and did say that back then, when we were first looking at this, there was no future projection of what the taxes were, and how could investors do that certainty. And felt that this was a flat, would give that certainty, and we did support that in that way, as a way to make it known, because you couldn't go to the state back when we first were doing these out here and even get an estimate of what future taxes. And a lot of dollars were going into it, and so we were trying to find that fair way.
And just how we came up with the $7,000 number is it's roughly the equivalent of what a natural gas plant would pay in taxes.
Natural gas plant, if there's producing electricity per megawatt, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
or?
yes.
Okay.
Capacity.
Yeah, okay. Other questions?
No question.
Anybody in the audience, any questions?
Larry, your thoughts?
No, I'm observing. The appraisals are done by the state. I'm working with them on those. We don't do the appraisals ourselves. They send us a list as part of the utility roll. And the number they give us is the number we plug in and produce your bill. If you don't do this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, under the new program, and it's detailed in the agreement, but basically what happens is we go in December before the assessment. We ask Larry to do a calculation, which is pretty easy math. It's 7 times the megawatts, and then he sends that in, and that's what our bill is.
I like the idea of being simple and predictable.
I still struggle with it. I honestly do. I mean, just the information gathered today, the .33 megawatt one, you're paying now $10,000 or $11,000 in traditional tax, basically. You're wanting to pay $2,331 a year. I mean, you're talking about percentages that you're talking about on your business. Well, the county, we operate the county on the taxation. So that's quite a reduction on the amount of taxation that come in for our operations. So looking at it from a business standpoint, we reduce the amount that's going to come in by 80% roughly.
Sure, but looking at it from a business standpoint, the $10,000 in taxes those projects are paying is a ridiculous amount of tax for that size of project.
Todd, can I ask you how you said you appealed that?
We did.
How did it turn out?
That's after their appeal.
Yeah, that's after the appeal. I think originally there was like a for maybe a $1.1 million assessment, assessed value, and then we went to the state and we said, we disagreed with that assessment, and then we went with, Robert Motley and, his guys, and we basically came up with a settlement.
So you stipulated it out? You
Yeah,
didn't actually
yeah.
go through the appeal process?
No, we didn't go all the way through it, we stipulated it out, after a couple back and forths. We could sit, we kind of put our position forward, say, well, this is how we would calculate it, and they pretty much, I'd say 75% agreed with us, and then we kind of came up with a number we could all live with and stipulated it.
All right, any other questions?
But it's a much bigger deal when you're dealing with a $20 million project versus a $700,000 or $800,000 project.
So the time frame that this has to be done, if we decide not to make a decision tomorrow, there's a time frame?
On the two smaller projects, we'd like to get those done by the end of the year so we can take advantage of it for next year. On the Black Cat project, we're actually, there's an investor doing due diligence on this project as we speak. We have a letter of intent from them, and this is one of the things that will hold up our closing. So this agreement is one of the things that will hold up our closing if we don't settle it out. So at the very least, we'd like to get some resolution on the Black Cap 2 project.
So Black Cap 2, so if this is in place, when would you start construction?
We hope to be finishing it about this time next year. So the first year we would take advantage of the program would be the 2017. So
2017.
Yeah, so we'd finish it in 2016 and start the deal. January 2016 is just gonna still be bare land. So, there's not gonna be anything out there, but probably in the spring, they're gonna start breaking ground up there. And, they'll probably work out there for 5 or 6 months, and then we'll have to have that wrapped up, October, November next year.
Just a question, as this is all new to us and everything, this will be the first ones we do. So what you're telling me is this isn't an absolute project, that this is a project that the investors will develop. So we're agreeing to this before a project is
Yes.
absolute.
Yeah, because,
And that's just the way it's gonna happen probably on almost.
right, because that's why, the investors are looking for that certainty when they're modeling things, right? So they're looking at what they, how much are they gonna give us for financing, how much are they gonna pay for a project? And if they don't know what the property taxes are gonna be, they don't know how to price things out.
So was this agreement goes for the project, so let's say this investor does do it, it gives you the latitude to try to bring in another investment, or do we have to come back and do another pilot if there's?
No, because it goes to the project. The project is its own separate, it will be its own separate entity. So,
So do we have the latitude to put in a time frame if this project doesn't go by 2017, that the pilot goes away and then we talk again, or, is it just open forever? I'm just trying to figure this out.
well, if you're signing an agreement that says you're gonna start in 2017, then, there's, the timing is kind of laid out in this, for when you'd start. I think it's on, initial request for computation, if you look at number 3 and 4 on page 1, kind of lays out the timing. So, if you don't start it by then, you don't pay the taxes by then, there's ways in there to terminate the agreement.
Well, I'm just wondering, does this can carry on? As far as the county and the agreement, if you're not billed by that time, it doesn't seem like, it seems like there would be an end to this agreement if the project isn't built.
Well, if it isn't built, then the agreement will never go into place because, there won't be a request for computation because there won't be there won't be a project. So, I think it kinda ends naturally if there's not a project, I guess is what I'm saying.
I'll ask legal counsel about that tomorrow and see.
Just as a side note, I did, ask Todd and Obsidian that, that if, who was the company gonna be under construction, like with Black Cap One, would we see Dog Lake and Thornton's and locals get the jobs? And they told me, yes, these are the ones I like, because you're right, long-term jobs, no, but construction jobs is very good for our contractors and businesses. So that's just a side note to let you know that discussions take place. And the same company that did Black Cap One is gonna do Black Cap Two, and that was their policy, and they expect that to be the same.
Yeah, and with respect to long-term jobs, once we finish this project, there's gonna be 10 megawatts sitting out there. And that's a big project. So we already have, some local maintenance people and, different stuff, people working on the small projects out there. When there's 10 megawatts out there, there'll be a fair amount of work for some folks to do here. It won't be, it won't be 5 FTE, but, there'll certainly be a fair amount of work out there. We're already sending out, local maintenance people quite a bit, to just keep it going.
The project in Bly is looking impressive.
Yeah, we're gonna go out there later today and
Okay, any other questions?
I had a thought, but I missed it.
No, you missed it.
Jump.
I might just say a word or two about the two smaller projects. I actually manage the two smaller projects for Obsidian. And I would have to say, like another developer, we sort of did that on faith and we own those projects. There's quite a bit of overhead that does go into them, just because of the local infrastructure around here. So they've actually been down quite a bit in the last 2 summers.
Lori spends a lot of time on this.
I spend a lot of time on the phone keeping them going. So they, to the extent that I could put a vote towards, there is actually quite a bit of money spent that we're not really accounting for because it's just my time going into those two smaller projects. And I guess we have our local guy who's gone out and reset them a number of times while you guys were having some lightning here.
And it all goes into Pacific Power Grid.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Beside this, the project with the school is off the table at this time?
So I give you kind of a brief rundown of some of the other projects if you like. School project, we intended to build that project with best intentions, right? So we wanted to build that project at the same time we were gonna build the Black Cat 2 project. We're gonna have crews and so forth out there. But, we thought we were gonna build Black Cat 2 like 2 years ago. So, time kind of kills all deals, right? So, we moved around and the investor that we had lined up is not the investor we have now, and so the timing didn't work for us, and so we let that project go. Now, with that being said, we are working with Jim and LCRI and to try to help them get that re-get the grant from the state, and the Energy Trust has expressed interest in building that project, and so I think it could be a viable project next year while the crew's in town. But it won't be us developing it. The school and in conjunction with maybe the ILC or LCRI might be building that project. But it's a worthy project. I think it'll be a great project.
I think Jim had a comment, Todd.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we've committed, LCRI has, to that project. In fact, Christie's working on Todd gave me all the proposal background and endorsement letters, and we're reformatting that. Now, being if it's a nonprofit building, it may be a little different structure and who we go to. Our goal would be, and it's a tight goal, would be to get, when they start construction next spring on the other project, to have this all lined out. Because then very cheaply, we could have the same crew come over and put it in. And that would be the ideal situation. So that's our goal. We're gonna try and achieve that. We've
It'd be
made
the
that
most
commitment to
efficient
the
way to
school.
do it. I mean, all the materials would be way cheaper because they can just kind of tack it on to the big project and so forth. We're diligently working on trying to get a couple of those projects off the ground in Christmas Valley. An 8 megawatt project and a 10 megawatt project up there. And then the airport project is, looming on the horizon. We're moving it forward slowly. Unfortunately, Pacific Power won't be a counterparty to that project. They've really kind of switched gears over the last maybe 6 to 12 months about their view on renewable energy and their support of it and PERPA and all that. So they won't be a party to that, but we are talking to some other interested parties. But that project's so large that the interconnection process for that is a couple-year process. The studies are a couple-year process. So that's probably going to be like a 2018 kind of project. I do think that eventually it will get built, but it's going to take some creative thinking and some ingenuity to get that built without Pacific Power's help.
That's what we rely on you for.
That's yes, it's the kind of project that we tend to take on. It takes us 6-7 years to get that.
I'm gonna try and say this as nicely as I can. Talk to Mark Douglas about how to deal with Pacific Power on the geothermal, get a good feeling of what's being done. I personally think it's wrong, totally, what's happening to some of these, but anyway, I'll stay right there, that's enough, Jim. That's enough.
They're Surprise Valley, but they're having to interconnect with Pacific Power.
Yeah,
Yep.
agreement should have been there, and never mind, I just need to,
Yeah.
this is a public meeting, stay quiet, Jim.
Yeah.
But you can see my blood goes up a little bit over it.
Let's, apart from this still, on the school one, if that goes through, typically, if the grid goes down for any reasons, a tree fall on some power line many miles away, the power from the solar will shut off also, so you don't feed into a repair job, the inverter. And that's under anti-island.
Anti-islanding,
Yes.
yeah, you're onto it.
Can, for something schools or a hospital happen to get up, or the airport, is it possible to have a different inverter to continue power
Like
to
for
the
backup
facilities?
power?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder to make it pencil right now, but there is a lot of interest in storage right now. There was a storage bill that was just passed, which is probably going to affect things more on a big scale, not on a
Small individual
yeah.
projects.
And there is actually grant money right now with the state. Unfortunately, they kind of hit a weird donut hole with that grant money, where it's too big to take advantage of for something like the size of a school or a hospital, but too small for the utilities who are under this mandate, and they just want to save their money and do the big deal. There are, on a smaller level, inverters that can provide some backup power. They're typically much smaller, like what would be in a house or in a small business. And that really just diverts a little bit of DC power when the sun is shining, inverts it and allows you to power like one outlet. So the hard thing about making that pencil is it's kind of almost a whole other system to add on to a solar system to make it operate as backup power too. So the cheapest way to do solar is to just have it offset the meter, and that relies on the grid always working. But you can, of course, that's how solar got started, was independent solar systems. So it's just
There's a lot of R&D going into trying to figure out, a lot of research and development trying to figure out storage. Because whoever figures out the cost-effective storage solution is going to be a winner.
it's coming. It's definitely coming, and it would be exciting when it happens. You'd be able to do, really good things for the hospital and school and.
Because if we have a geographically northwest catastrophe, power grid's gonna go down for a while.
Yeah, a lot of people are
Yeah.
very interested in this.
Everybody got their diesel generator and backup.
And then those are gonna run out.
They're gonna run out of fuel, and that stops, we won't have the power to refuel the tank.
Yeah.
So,
No, resiliency, I think, is
yeah.
the word of the day that everybody's using. So, about 8 years ago, when we were looking at the Outback project, Christmas Valley, we were approached by a company that did storage, and their solution was a tractor trailer size battery. They'll just park out there. And that huge battery would provide about 5 hours of energy.
But there, when the sun is shining though, you have the electricity just be fed back to the facility.
Well, that's the idea of these transformerless inverters that have, just one, they can just minimally power something small while the sun is shining. It just does it adds kind of a lot more electronics to really do something thoughtful over days, and it takes into account, you have to kind of design it with the whole building or the whole system in mind, where, you're able to electrically isolate what you really want to keep running, turn off everything else, do some bypass and some charge controlling, and so there's just a whole other, kind of like a whole 1/3 again of what the solar system is to do this backup power, and it kind of depends on what you want to achieve with it. If you need it instantaneously for just a short while, or if you need it to last for several days to keep refrigerators on, or what have you. So there's kind of not one really good answer I could give you in a box, but.
So there is research progressing in that direction.
Yes, yeah.
Or we could go back to whenever Canyon up through had a small power plant in that fed, like Pine Creek Canyon fed all of Pine Creek and everything.
That's when we used to have snow and water.
What would be great is if, in conjunction with this legislation that's happening, the utilities are mandated to put in some pretty large-scale backup power. And if you could get yourselves to be, if you could get Lakeview to be the demo project for PacifiCorp's backup power, that would be something substantial where they have to do something by 2020. And if you could get it located here, it'd be pretty interesting stuff.
After the meeting, either today or.
Sidebar discussion, okay.
One of the best scenarios is if Paisley geothermal was up and operating efficiently, and that it could backfill a lot of the grid that's already set up there. And there could be a way that could happen, but it's just getting the big dogs to play together. These are 20-year agreements that you have proposed to us. The question this was coming to me, Todd, is does each one of these have a 20-year power purchase agreement? And in that power purchase agreement, is there any escalation on the amount you'll get paid per kilowatt that you're producing?
It's different between the two types of projects. The Black Cat 2 project has what's called a qualified facility agreement under PURPA. It's the agreement that the utilities have to give us. It's based on avoided cost, their avoided cost. It's a table that they give to the PUC. It goes up and down, so it's not a negotiated rate that we have with the utility. It's just based on a regulated table. So it goes up a little bit some years, and some years it stays flat. Some years kind of goes down, goes up. But it's based on their Pacific Power presents to the PUC every year their integrated resource plan, and when they come up with these rates, and they say, well, what does it cost to build our next an incremental natural gas facility, and then that's the rate that they give everybody. And then for renewable energy, this doesn't have a renewable energy avoided cost agreement, but some of the agreements in the future will have a little kicker for renewable energy. This doesn't have that. This is just basically a brown collar agreement.
I guess I'm totally lost after
Yeah.
that explanation.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So it doesn't have. It's not a negotiated agreement where we get X amount per kilowatt hour at 2% increase.
It just mirrors what they project natural gas will cost, basically.
Yeah,
So
if we built a
sometimes it's up,
natural-
sometimes it's
yeah,
down.
If we built a natural gas plant, we would get the same.
Okay, so from a consumer standpoint, is in 20 years, I believe I'll be paying more power bill than I am today because of, it's gonna go up per kilowatt. I would think that as you're producing so much that if it's 10 cents today and in 5 years it's 13 cents.
That's what you think.
You would think that.
That's what I'm trying to get my arms
Yeah,
around.
no, see, that's intuitive because they do actually increase your retail rate every year. And what people haven't put together, and utilities have all kinds of answers for this about why, because we're like, well, you raise your rates, 8% a year, why don't we get an 8% increase in our rates that you're paying us? And, well, it's on the avoided cost, and actually avoided costs go down over years. It used to be you get 10 cents a kilowatt hour for your avoided cost. Now it's, 4 cents, 5 cents starting out. And the curves out past like 15 years, they think that the avoided cost is gonna be 4 to 6 cents. Because they think natural gas is gonna be cheap forever. Of course, we all know that it's not, but they think it's gonna be cheap forever. So they say, well, your avoided cost payment that we're gonna pay you is, I think we get to 7 cents, 5 or 6 years out or something like that. But it actually kind of goes down after years. So their price curves for what they're paying for power.
So your power purchase agreement will apparently.
After year 15, it's actually gonna go down.
But that agreement basically is whatever each year the PUC puts out of the.
No, we lock in a table.
No, you lock in at a
You lock in your
contract
table
time.
at a contract time.
For 15 years.
For 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, and then, now that's for Black Cap too. So we have a 20-year agreement. It's called a qualifying facility avoided cost agreement. So, it's the agreement that they have to give us. So, if it's, they don't need, according to them, they don't need renewable energy, so they probably wouldn't negotiate an agreement with us otherwise. But they have to give us this agreement, so that's the agreement that we're going with. It's not a particularly lucrative agreement. The only reason we're able to get it to work is because, costs have come down and we're really just, trying to drive, that's why we waited a couple of years to get it built, wait for some costs to come down even more. There's a lot more experience in the market, so contractor costs have come down and things like that. So, we're able to kind of barely get it to work, under the avoided cost agreements. So, but then, we have an old agreement. The new agreements that Pacific Power came out with, because they're finding out that we can make this one work, and, there's another developer that's gonna make one work in Bend, that they're doing a project up there. They're like, oh, well, we can't have that, we gotta lower it. So they lowered, this last RFP, they lowered the rates down even way lower, so nobody can really afford to do a project. So, we're kind of getting, we got two of the older contracts we locked in, so, we're fortunate in that respect. On the other two projects, smaller projects, those were part of the feed-in tariff program that was enacted back, I guess, 2010, 2011. And so those were projects that we bid into to win an allocation based on the lowest bid for kilowatt hour. So we have 15-year agreements on each one of those at a flat rate. So I think we get like 10 cents a kilowatt hour for one of them for 15 years flat, and the other one's a little bit more. But so there's no escalator in that. You have to bid it at a flat rate.
And we have uncertainty after that contract is over.
Yeah, and after that contract's over,
15 years.
yeah, we're not sure what we'll do with that project. We'll probably roll it into a qualifying facility agreement, basically the standard agreement that the utility has to give us, but it'll be at a much lower rate than we're paying.
You can't go into basically net metering straight across for.
No, there's nothing in the meter to.
No, with net metering, you have to be adjacent to your load, so we can't, you know, it would be great if we could like offset the school, if
Yeah,
they,
run a
if we would
line to
get
the
something like
school or
virtual net
something.
metering.
Yeah, okay.
That is available in other states, but we can't do that here.
You can't
Jim,
virtually
you have a question?
I was smiling, I attended the PUC meetings on avoided cost from Pacific Power about the time natural gas plummeted. It's really interesting to see how they justify those lower rates. And I don't understand it, but if you ever want to go to something interesting, that's an interesting meeting to sit through, and how they justify what the rates, the avoided cost should be. It's clever.
But they can never rationalize the difference between, you know,
Makes sense.
lowering the avoided cost rates of what they're paying for it, but then
Increasing,
increasing retail.
Yeah. it won't make sense to you.
I'm trying to educate myself today, investing on some of this. Any other questions?
No.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
You guys staying over tomorrow or headed back?
Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow.
We're gonna
Talk
talk
about
about this and then the mineral rights.
Yes. We have a discussion on that tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you guys coming down.
Yeah, thank you.
Slowly we're moving forward.
So, on our agenda, we have covered everything at this time. Nothing else come before us.
Well, department updates, we got.
We will adjourn at 10 minutes to 12.
We have executive session down there too, on that